All right, so welcome to the deep dives, everybody. Ready to dig into something kind of quirky?
Always up for a good, quirky deep dive. Hit me with it.
Okay, so today it's buttons.
Buttons.
Yeah, buttons.
Like the ones on your shirt.
Exactly. But like not just buttons themselves, more like what they say about, well, us, society, you know?
Okay, now I'm definitely intrigued. Lay it on me.
So this all starts with this writer, Stephen. He's got this whole bit about a wardrobe malfunction, right?
Yeah.
Friday morning, scrambling to get ready. And well, let's just say he's not exactly dressed for success yet. Standing there in his underwear, can't find the right shirt.
Been there, done that, though hopefully not with an audience.
Right. And he's like looking for that one shirt that makes him look put together. But when he finally finds it, disaster strikes. Missing buttons.
Oh no, the classic missing button crisis. We've all been there.
You'd think it'd be a simple fix, right? Sew a button, problem solved. But for Stephen, it's like this whole existential crisis.
Yeah.
And it sends him down this rabbit hole of research, which is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm sensing a but coming.
But he stumbles upon this historical fact about button placement. Apparently, men's buttons are on the right because, way back when, they needed to be able to draw their swords quickly.
Ah, the good old days when fashion choices were dictated by the need for swift sword drawing.
Right. And get this, women's buttons are on the left because back then, their maids would be the ones doing the buttoning.
Oh wow, I'd never thought about it that way. It's fascinating how something so small can have such a long history.
And it gets you thinking, right? Like, how much of our lives is still shaped by these random things from centuries ago? And Stephen takes this whole button thing and just runs with it, uses it to talk about, like, societal expectations and gender roles and everything.
Makes sense. After all, even today, it's mostly women's clothing that buttons on the left, right.
Exactly. He's making the point that these seemingly random details actually reveal a lot about how we still view men and women today.
I'm all ears. Tell me more about how he connects those dots.
Well, he puts it pretty bluntly. He says, men are seen as, and I'm quoting here, strong, practical, ready to draw their sword at a moment's notice.
Okay, I can see where this is going. And women are.
This is the part that kind of makes you chuckle, but also think. He says, women, pretty dependent and relying on someone else to button them up.
Wow, he doesn't hold back, does he?
Not at all. He's using this whole button situation as a metaphor for how society still kind of boxes us in, even if we don't always realize it.
It's funny how these tiny details can highlight such profound truths, isn't it?
Right. And that's where his humor comes in. He's got this sharp, almost sarcastic tone, but he's making some really valid points. Like, he's not just complaining, he's actually suggesting we turn this whole button thing into a performance piece.
Now that's an idea I can get behind. A button-themed performance. What does he have in mind?
Well, he talks about using buttons as like literal symbols of expectations. Imagine him on stage, right? And he's like, every button on my shirt is an expectation of society, and today I'm ripping them all off.
I can already picture it. That would be quite the statement.
Totally. He's not afraid to push boundaries and make people think.
It sounds like he's blending social commentary with theatrics and a good dose of humor. Definitely an interesting mix.
Exactly. And he's not just thinking visually. He talks about, like, a conversation between that sword-wielding guy from the past and, like, a maid who's just had enough of buttoning up fancy dresses. It's a way to connect those historical roots to how we think today.
A very clever way to bring history to life and make it relevant to a modern audience.
Totally. And it makes you realize, even back then, people were probably questioning these roles too.
It's a timeless topic, isn't it? Gender roles and societal expectations, they've been around forever.
And by framing it through something as ordinary as buttons, he makes it feel relatable, you know? Like, it's not this heavy lecture, it's a conversation we can all be a part of.
I like that approach. It makes these potentially sensitive topics more approachable, less intimidating.
Exactly. And that's what makes Stefan so effective, I think. He's not preaching. He's inviting you in, making you laugh, and making you think, all at the same time.
And using buttons as his unexpected tool, who would have thought?
Right. It's all about finding those deeper meanings in the everyday, and Stefan's a master at that.
All right, so he's got us thinking about buttons, gender roles, history. Where does he go from there?
Well, he actually takes this whole look closer at the everyday thing and turns it into a kind of challenge. He calls it the sword and maid test.
Okay, the sword and maid test. I'm hooked. Tell me more. Okay, the sword and maid test. I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So basically, it's about looking at situations, everyday stuff, and asking, would this be different if the roles were reversed? Like, Imagine a woman walking alone at night, feeling unsafe.
Yeah, unfortunately, a pretty common experience.
Right. But then Stefan asks, what if it was a man walking alone? Would he feel the same way? It's about flipping the script, making you see those unspoken assumptions we have about gender and safety.
I see. So it's about bringing those unconscious biases to the surface, making them visible.
Exactly. And he doesn't stop there. He says you can apply this test to like everything. How we see success, beauty, even what makes a good person. All those expectations we just kind of inherit.
It's like holding up a mirror to society's norms, right? Seeing if they still hold up when you switch things around.
Exactly. And the cool thing is it's so simple. Anyone can do it anywhere, anytime. Just that one question, would this be different if? Boom, you're thinking critically.
It's a powerful tool for self-reflection, too, making you aware of your own biases, even the ones you don't realize you have.
Totally. And that's where Stefan's message goes beyond just pointing fingers. He's giving you a way to actually start changing things.
It's about taking those observations, those aha moments, and turning them into action, right? Challenging those norms that don't serve us anymore.
Yes. And he ties this all back to his idea of storytelling as a tool for change. Which brings us to his book, Poetry Master.
Ah, so this is where the button-themed performance meets the power of poetry.
You got it. He's basically saying, if you want to use your voice, make people think, make a difference, this book is your guide.
So it's not just about writing pretty poems then, it's about something more.
Way more. It's about crafting language that hits hard, makes people feel things, maybe even changes their minds.
Using words to create change, that's a powerful concept.
And he gives you the tools to do it. Practical tips, exercises, the whole 9 yards. It's not just theory, it's about actually getting those words out there.
I can see how that would appeal to people. It's empowering, giving you the skills to actually express yourself and connect with others.
And he stresses, it's not about being perfect, it's about being bold. Experimenting, pushing those boundaries, even messing up along the way.
Embracing the creative process with
Ah,
all its imperfections.
Exactly. And something he talks about a lot is using humor as part of that process, which, if you think about it, is what he's doing with this whole button thing.
Right. He's tackling these serious issues of gender roles and expectations, but he's doing it with wit and sarcasm.
He even has this line in the book. It's like, humor is truth dipped in chocolate.
Ooh, I like that. It's true. Humor can make those tough truths go down a little easier.
And it can make people more receptive, right? Like, you're more likely to listen to someone who can make you laugh, even if they're challenging your views.
Absolutely. Humor can be incredibly disarming.
And Stefan's really good at using it to get his point across.
Yeah.
But he also emphasizes that it's not just about being funny. It's about connecting with people on a deeper level.
Tapping into those shared human experiences, the things we all go through, no matter who we are.
Right. Whether it's, heartbreak or joy or that feeling of standing in your underwear, panicking because you can't find a shirt with all the buttons. But we've all been there.
Those universal moments that make us human.
And when you can capture those in your writing, in your performance, that's when you really connect with people.
Creating art that resonates, that makes people feel seen and understood.
Exactly. He wants people to finish a poem, leave a performance, and feel like something shifted inside them, like they learned something about themselves or the world.
Creating art that stays with you long after you've experienced it.
And it all starts with paying attention, right? Looking at those everyday things, those buttons, and asking, what's the story here?
Like Stepan did with his missing buttons. He turned a wardrobe malfunction into a social commentary.
And he's showing us we can do that too. Find those deeper meanings, those buttons in our own lives, and use them to create something meaningful. And he's not just talking the talk, he actually gives you the tools to do it. In Poetry Master, he's got all these practical exercises, tips for honing your craft, finding that unique voice.
It's like he gets it. It's one thing to have a message, but you got to know how to deliver it, right?
Exactly. And he really emphasizes it's not about being perfect. It's about being bold, experimenting. Don't be afraid to, push boundaries, make mistakes along the way.
It's that whole learn by doing thing, right? You can't get better if you're not willing to try stuff, even if you mess up sometimes.
Totally. And it's interesting because he talks about using humor as part of that too, which we see that in his own work, like with this whole button analogy, right?
Right. He's not shying away from serious topics, but he's also not afraid to use humor to get his point across.
He even has this great line in the book. He says, humor is truth dipped in chocolate.
Oh, I love that. It's so true. A little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down, as they say.
Exactly. And it makes it easier for people to listen,
Yeah.
even if what you're saying challenges their views.
Absolutely. Humor can break down walls, make people more receptive.
And Stefan's a master of that.
Yeah.
But he also emphasizes it's not just about being funny, it's about connecting with your audience, making them feel something real.
Tapping into those universal human experiences, the things that connect us all.
Right. Like, think about it. We've all been there. Heartbreak, joy, that panic of standing in your underwear because you can't find a shirt with all its buttons. We've all had those moments.
Those little things that make us human.
Exactly. And when you can capture those in your art, in your writing, that's when you really connect with people on a deeper level.
It's about creating art that resonates, that makes people feel seen and understood.
Yes. He wants people to finish a poem, leave a performance, and feel like something shifted inside them, like they learned something about themselves or the world.
Leaving them with something to think about, something to ponder long after the show is over.
And it all starts with paying attention, looking at those everyday things, those buttons, and asking, what's the story here?
Just like Stefan did with his missing buttons, turned a wardrobe malfunction into a social commentary.
Amazing, right. And he's showing us that we can do that too. Find those deeper meanings, those buttons in our own lives, and turn them into something meaningful.
Whether it's through writing, performing, or just observing the world around us with a more critical eye.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Finding those hidden layers, those unexpected connections. And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to create some art of your own.
And if you are, Stefan's Poetry Master Poesycraft in 7 Taggin is a great place to start. It's full of practical advice and exercises to help you find your voice and hone your craft.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a wild ride, this deep dive into the world of buttons, societal norms, and the power of creative expression. So go out there, find those buttons in your own life, unbutton those expectations, and make some art that matters.
And remember, as Stefan says, don't just button up with style.
Words to live by, my friend. Words to live by. Until next time, happy unbuttoning.